One last 2024 F1 podcast, one last driver grades. It is time for our Abu Dhabi Grand Prix driver report cards. Welcome back to another episode of the Podium Pushers podcast with Justin and Brandon. We started it last week. We're back for more. We are here to give every driver a grade from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix weekend. Brandon, how are you feeling about it?
Feeling good. It was a great race. We had a lot of action up and down the field. A lot of stuff to talk about with every single driver. So I'm excited to dive in. It's going to be a great episode.
Yes, Constructors' Championship drama, a lot of incidents. Valtteri Bottas decided that he wanted to hit everybody on track. Let's just jump right into it. Kevin Magnussen started the race 15th, finished in 16th. I'm going to give him a C. It wasn't his best race, wasn't his worst race. Got taken out by Valtteri Bottas. And it's his last race with Haas, so I didn't want to give him a failing grade. So I'm going to stick it with a straight C for Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, I also went with the C for Kevin Magnussen. Like you said, not the best race, not the worst race. Um, I think he ended his time at Haas on a good note. With the team, and he didn't lose a ton of positions in the race. Kind of just ran around in the middle of the pack. Wasn't able to do much, but yeah, average race from Kevin, so a C.
And the fans agree. They also gave Kevin Magnussen a C. Nico Hulkenberg started in seventh, finished in eighth. I gave him a B. I thought it was a good race from Nico Hulkenberg, solid race from Nico Hulkenberg. Probably couldn't have been expected to do much more, but ultimately did lose out to Pierre Gasly and Alpine in the constructor standings. So solid B for Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was really on the edge of a B or an A, but I think it just has to be a B because he didn't do enough to get that P6 in the constructor standings for Haas. If he had, it would be an A, maybe even an A plus. But a great race from Nico, great qualifying, which is what we've come to expect from him. So a B for Nico.
Now, we can't forget that the qualifying is even better than this seemed because he did have that three-place grid penalty.
That's
But
true. A
he
P4.
did the incident, and so it's kind of on him. So I kind of have to factor that in. The fans agree; they gave him a B as well. So we are all in agreement so far. Let's just keep the good vibes rolling. Zhou Guan Yu started the race in 15th, finished in 13th. Classic Sauber race for Guan Yu Zhou, just going straight under the radar in the middle of the pack, never threatening points. C.
Yep. Same here. Also gave him a C. He ended his time in Formula One. Um, just as he has done all the entire season long, just kind of doing nothing, taking up those spots that somebody has to fill in the middle of the pack and scoring no points. So, let's see.
It's better than the P20 he's used to. The fans gave him a B, so they're feeling a little more generous towards Guan Yu Zhou than we were. Valtteri Bottas started ninth, did not finish. D. Great qualifying. Probably the best qualifying of the year for him. Maybe the best qualifying of his time at Sauber. And then had a horrible race. Took out multiple drivers. Didn't even finish the Grand Prix. It just ended his time in Formula One on a not so great note, unfortunately. So he is getting a D from me.
Yeah, the only thing that kept me from giving him an F is that qualifying. So he got a D from me as well. Just not a great performance there on the racetrack from Valtteri. I don't know if he forgot what it was like to qualify in Q3 and, you know, be in a spot that has other cars around him. But it wasn't a great race, so a D for Valtteri.
Yeah, he had more cars behind him than in front of him for the first time this year, and then proceeded to run into the rest of the field. The fans gave him a C, so they were feeling more generous towards him as well. Two teams down. We are still fully in agreement in our grades. Liam Lawson started the race in 12th, did not finish. I gave him a B, and I'm kind of taking Liam Lawson at his word on this one. He said he was having one of the best races of his career that was kind of undone by the pit stop. And for sure, that is ultimate V carb mess up. Not his fault at all for them to release him with his wheel off. Obviously, you then have to retire the car according to Formula One rules if you are released back on track with a loose wheel. And so, not his fault that he DNF'd. Points maybe could have been on the table. Qualified right behind Yuki. So solid weekend from him. I'm going to give him a B just to be safe.
Yeah, yeah, it is unfortunate that that happened um with the pit stop error and them releasing him without the wheel fully on there, but ultimately this was not the weekend that Liam needed. He had an okay qualifying right behind Yuki, and then, to DNF in the race when he really needed probably a points finish to.
It wasn't his fault he DNF'd. What do you expect from him when he gets thrown out there with his wheel not on the car?
I mean, that's true. That's true. But at the end of the day, that's what's gonna be there on the paper is a D and F. So I've gone with a D for
What a
Liam.
brutal grade.
I know it's a
Unbelievable. We
tough
were here in
grade.
agreement this whole time, and then you pull out something like this? Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I guess just like the V-Carb pit crew screwed Liam, I guess I'm screwing him a little bit with this grade, but I'm sticking with it, sticking to my guns. Liam Lawson gets a D.
All right, I'm not going to be as mad about it because the fans gave him an F, which is unbelievable to give him an F. That is
Yeah,
brutal. But
that's
all right, whatever.
that's too far. It's too far. I would never.
An F is a step too far. Brandon would never give Liam Lawson an F. Keep that in the back of your mind. Yuki Tsunoda started the race 11th, finished in 12th, outqualified his teammate, did stall it off the line, but recovered to P12. Not a great race from him. I'm giving him a C.
I also gave Yuki a C. That him stalling it on the start really kind of undid his entire race, which is pretty unfortunate. So yeah, not a great race from Yuki, but he did recover in P12, which isn't bad. But you got to think points are probably on the table if he doesn't stall it on the line. So
Yeah, we also had like six drivers DNF, so that's not super high up the grid of a recovery. So I think a C is fair. The fans agree. They also gave Yuki Tsunoda a C, and so we are all in harmony again. Franco Colapinto started P20 and did not finish. I'm gonna give him a D. Another not so great race from Franco. Was hit by Oscar Piastri very early on, and then had to retire due to a mechanical problem. Franco really cooled off towards the end of his career. In fairness, I still think that Williams is built from popsicle sticks that they found lying around the factory, so I'm not fully putting it on him, but not a great race, and I'm gonna give him a D.
yeah, I'm giving Franco an F. I just think, again, in this situation, it really wasn't what he needed. He was somebody who was being looked at pretty heavily for seats in 2025 and probably 2026. But with him cooling off towards the end of the season and then starting qualifying in P20 and then DNFing in the race, you know, it was a mechanical problem, so maybe it wasn't necessarily his fault. Maybe it was something related to the incident with Oscar Piastri. We don't really know, but at the end of the day, certainly not what he needed. A stronger finish would have certainly helped his case for getting a full-time drive at some point in the next couple of years, but it's not looking great for Franco right now.
Yeah, starting to think that you were in a bad mood when you did these grades because you're being a little harsher than I am today. The fans agree with me. They gave Franco Colapinto a D. It is crazy how much your luck can change in Formula One. He was being even rumored for a potential Red Bull seat, and now it is just completely cooled. No talks of him being on the grid next year. And we'll see for 2026. But glad we at least got to see Franco on the grid for a couple races. I think he was a great personality to have. Alex Albon started the race in P18, finished the race in P11. Obviously had a grid penalty, so did not qualify in P18, and then recovered to P11. So I think a solid weekend from Alex Albon, B.
Yeah, I'm also giving Alex a B. He was helped out by a few DNFs, but I mean that doesn't discount the fact that he was nearly in the points. for Williams, which would have been valuable to them. But nonetheless, it was still a great race, great recovery drive from Alex. It's probably the best we've seen Alex look in that car in quite some time. So great thing to get some momentum together for next season to see what they can do.
And the fans were a little harsher. They gave Alex Albon a C, which just seems outrageously harsh to me. Jack Doohan started the race in 17th. He did qualify 20th, let us not forget that, and finished the race in 15th. I'm going to give him a C. His first weekend in Formula One probably did a little bit more to convince me that his Alpine was not the same as Pierre Gasly's, and neither was Esteban Ocon's. An okay weekend doesn't really change my opinion on him one way or another. So I'm going to keep it straight down the middle and give him a C.
I'm giving Jack a B. I think that Jack had you know, an okay race. He gained positions. He didn't not finish the race, which, is good. And I think maybe I'm curving his grade a little bit because it was his first weekend. I think he did a good job stepping into the car on short notice and, providing a decent result, given his lack of experience in the car and that kind of thing. But so I'm giving Jack a B.
Yeah, the fans agree with me once again, and they've given him a C. But hey, I mean, there is has to be something said for not putting it in the wall, getting it through your first weekend. I'm sure that will, help him next year to say that he's already gotten his first F1 weekend underneath him before he goes into next season. So I'm sure that will be an asset to him. Pierre Gasly started the race in fifth, finished the race in seventh. I'm going to give Pierre Gasly an A. I think he has finished this year incredibly strong. There's really nothing more that he could do in that Alpine than finish seventh. Everyone who finished in front of him clearly should have finished in front of him. I mean, I know Esteban Ocon got that P2, but Pierre Gasly finished the job off on getting that team into P6 in the constructors. What an incredible run of form for him to end the year. He's getting an A from me.
Yeah, so I originally gave him a B, but I think I'm giving him an A. I mean, like you said, it was a fantastic drive, fantastic qualifying for him, and I mean, for Alpine, that's really where the bulk of the work had to be done was they had to qualify well because they aren't going to pass these guys. You know, they're not going to cut through the midfield like Charles did. So he had to qualify well to finish up there, and he did it. I mean, P5, great qualifying. He was helped out by Nico Hulkenberg's grid penalty there a little bit, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he got into Q3 and finished race P7, got the valuable points he needed to lock up the Constructors' Championship. P6, not the actual championship, but yeah, an A for Pierre for me.
You heard it here first. Alpine Constructors Champions. The fans gave Pierre Gasly an A plus, so maybe we didn't give Pierre enough credit for his performance. Lance Stroll started the race in 13th, finished the race in 14th. This is the most C race I could imagine. So Lance Stroll's getting a C. I don't really have much to say about it. I don't think we saw him once during the race on the TV direction. So C.
Yeah, same here. I mean, if you had told me, oh, Lance Stroll didn't actually race in that race, I would be like, that makes sense because I didn't see him do anything at all. So yeah, a C for me from Lance, or for Lance from me. P13 to P14. That's about the most Lance Stroll races that you're gonna get. So
I don't know if we can make jokes about Lance Stroll not racing after what we just watched in Brazil, so maybe that's still like a touchy subject for him. The fans agree. They gave him a C. Fernando Alonso started the race in eighth, finished in ninth. I gave him a solid B. I think he's still doing incredible things with that Aston Martin. That car probably did not belong in Q3 and getting 2 points. And apparently he was racing with a shoulder injury as well. So solid weekend from Fernando. Gets a B from me.
yeah, yeah, great weekend from Fernando. Putting the car again, like you said, probably not where it should have been, up in Q3. So a B for me, as well. Cannot wait to see what he does in 2025 and 2026 with that car. I so desperately want to see Fernando Alonso win another race, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, obviously, I was 4 years old when Fernando Alonso won the 2026 Formula One World Championship. And so I would love to see Fernando Alonso in a race winning car fighting for a championship. I know this won't be prime Fernando. Maybe it will with the way he is defying age. I don't know. But I do dearly, as a Formula One fan, want to see Fernando Alonso fighting at the front of the grid for a championship. The fans gave Fernando Alonso an A. McLaren, Oscar Piastri started the race in second, finished the race in 10th. I've given him a C. Can't give him any worse than that. You could probably make the argument that he should have finished higher in that McLaren. After his teammate won the race, he could have maybe fought back to a little bit higher, but ultimately wasn't his fault that he got taken out by Max Verstappen. Qualified P2, so that is fairly solid. So I'm gonna give him a C.
I'm also gonna go with a C. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I had originally written down a D for Oscar, but the incident with Max Verstappen was not his fault. He had a great qualifying. He put himself, in terms of qualifying, he put himself in the best position possible to help his team out. And in some form or fashion, he did help his team a little bit. He he protected Lando from getting hit by Max because that could have happened potentially. I don't know. But yeah, a C from me for Oscar. It was a good race from him. Good recovery. Um, Not ideal, but he did what he could.
Max had a good start, but not good enough to get up to P1. The fans did give Oscar a D, so who knows what they were thinking. Lando Norris started the race in first, finished the race in first, A plus. Best race of Lando Norris's career. Did not put a foot wrong. I mean, even in his other wins, we've seen him lose the lead at the start or almost put it in the wall at Singapore, and he did not make a single mistake in this race and was really under pressure. I mean, Carlos Sainz is in his rearview mirror. If he slips up and loses P1, McLaren could lose the Constructors' Championship. And so, great race from Lando Norris under pressure. Solid A plus from me.
Yep, I totally agree. I feel like that's about as perfect of a race as you can get with Lando Norris, and um, it was awesome. He did what he needed for his team to win the Constructors' Championship, and there's not much more you can say about it than that.
So, what grade are you giving Lando Norris?
Uh, A plus. I guess
A
there's a little
plus.
bit more than you could say about that. So, A
A
plus.
pluses all around because the fans agree and also gave Lando Norris an A plus. Carlos Sainz started the race in third, finished the race in second. I'm gonna keep handing out A pluses. I'm giving one to Carlos Sainz too. Maybe this is because I'm reminiscing on his last race in red, and that makes me a little bit sad. But I also think he couldn't have done much more. He qualified right behind the McLarens, put his team in a position to fight for the Constructors' Championship. He finished in second. I don't think Ferrari were as fast as the McLaren, so I think he really did all he could do this weekend, and so I have to give Carlos Sainz an A plus.
I do as well. I think, again, this is definitely me being a little sad about Carlos's last race at Ferrari, but it was a fantastic race from Carlos. He did everything he could. Um, I'm sad to see him go, but man, what a great job he did. Um, so A plus for me. Wish he had won that race. That would have been an A plus plus, but
I don't know if we
yeah.
can give out A plus pluses. Maybe in the most extreme of scenarios. The fans agree. They also gave Carlos Sainz an A plus. Charles Leclerc started the race in 19th, finished third. I have given Charles Leclerc an A. It was an incredible race from Charles, an incredible first lap, and a deserving podium. But once he got to P3, he wasn't really making up any ground on the top two. And there is part of me that wonders that even though he had that grid penalty, he was still eliminated in Q2 because of a mistake on his own and could have started the race higher up the field. Who knows how that would have affected the outcome of the Constructors' Championship or even the outcome of the race if he could have, played into the strategy more of the teams of slowing down Lando some way. So I don't know. There's a lot of things left to question because of his qualifying mistake. So I have to downgrade him a little bit and just give him an A.
That's fair. That's fair. I was ready to argue with you on this one, but I'm giving him an A plus just because I think he truly couldn't have done any more come race day. Obviously, he did leave some stuff on the table on Saturday, unfortunately. But I'm still giving him an A plus. It was a fantastic race from him, and he with the cards that he was dealt, He did absolutely everything that he could, and that's all that they could have asked from him. So it was a great race, probably the best race of his career, in my opinion. He gained 16 places. It's something he had never done in a Grand Prix before. So A plus.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that A plus all that much. It was a very good race from Charles. The fans agree with you. They gave Charles Leclerc an A plus. Mercedes, George Russell started the race in sixth, finished the race in fifth. I've given him a B. It was a solid race from George. I think the Mercedes were clearly a step behind the top teams, but he was overtaken by Lewis on the last lap. He might have left a little bit on the table. So good weekend from George. Not a great weekend. I'm gonna give him a B.
I'm giving George an A. I think the Mercedes was, a step behind, but I think George did well to make uh, sure that they had a good finish. And, what really pushed me over the edge was the way that he treated Lewis on track. Toto did come on the radio and say, George, stating the obvious, keep it clean. And George said, yeah, of course. And he did. It was clean, fair racing. And I think that's really what pushed me over to give George an A there. But I think it was a good race from him. It was a good qualifying. So good job from George.
Yeah, I'm not super mad about giving George an A. He did lock down the qualifying record against Lewis this weekend of 19-5 across the entire season, which is fairly impressive against a seven-time world champion. The
Since then.
fans gave George Russell a C, which is absurd. That is an absolutely insane grade. So maybe we should upgrade George Russell next time. Lewis Hamilton started the race in 16th, finished the race in fourth. I've given him an A. It was an awesome race, but he has to be downgraded because of his qualifying. Clearly, there is still something going on there with him in that car and qualifying. Yes, Kevin Magnussen knocked a cone in front of his car, and Mercedes sent him out on a bit of traffic, but still was knocked out in Q1. And so I do have to downgrade him a little bit, even though it was a great race from him again, and he is getting an A from me.
Yeah, I've given Lewis an A plus. Maybe this is also me reminiscing on his last race with Mercedes, just as I did with Carlos Sainz. What can I say? I'm a sentimental person, so yeah, I think it was a fantastic race, and to see the fire in Lewis's eyes and the competitive nature of him really come out again. That just made me really excited to see him in a Ferrari next year, and a Ferrari that is hopefully competitive. So I think it was a fantastic race for Lewis, and had he qualified any higher, I mean, he was definitely looking at a podium. So had he made it into Q3, maybe he was looking at the race win. I don't know. We'll never know.
That
But
Mercedes didn't have the pace for the win. We can't be doing that. We can't be putting that out there for people to get their hopes up. It was never on for Lewis Hamilton. The podium maybe. The win was unfortunately never on. The
yeah,
fans agree with you. They gave Lewis Hamilton an A plus. Sergio Perez, one more time we get to talk about this guy. Started the race in 10th, did not finish. I'm gonna give him a D. Yes, he did not qualify the best in P10, but he made Q3, which is a plus for him, I guess. And then the DNF, not his fault. He was hit by Valtteri Bottas and then lost drive. I don't know. It's just another Sergio Perez weekend of disappointment. You know what disappointment starts with? The letter D. And so that's what he's getting for his last grade in 2024. Yeah, that's really all I can say about Sergio Perez at this point.
yeah, I'm giving Sergio an F. It's just one of those head scratching weekends where you're like, man, what even happened there? Like, why are you even in that spot, And to me, it just really kind of seemed like Sergio just he didn't want to be there, which is unfortunate to kind of look at and watch, but I think you just got to do better, And for the same reason that maybe a Q3 performance bumped him up to a D for you, it's bumping him down to an F for me. It's like if we're sitting here saying, man, you know what? Sergio wasn't that bad. P10 qualifying, not bad at all. No, that's an F performance.
That's fair. Valtteri Bottas qualified P9, so that is
Yeah.
fair that P10's maybe not the best look for Sergio Perez.
So yeah, he's getting an F from me, especially when Nico Hulkenberg is putting that Haas in P4. It's like, come on, the Red Bull's gotta be at least P7, you'd think.
Well, Max Verstappen was out qualified by Nico Hulkenberg as well, so I don't want to dog on him that much for that, but it was a poor weekend for Sergio Perez. The fans agree with you. They gave him an F. Max Verstappen started the race in P4, finished the race in P6. I've given him a C. Uh, the Red Bull wasn't up there with the top two teams. He got the start of dreams, made short work of Carlos Sainz, and then put it right into the side of Oscar Piastri. It was, yes, a racing incident. The move was on technically, but Max was at fault. That Red Bull was always going to wash wide a little bit with the tight line that he had to take. The contact was ultimately his fault. The penalty was deserving. He came back through the field fairly well, recovered to P6, but because of the mistake, I have to give him a C. I can't give him any higher.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Max a B. I think that his qualifying was pretty good. I guess he qualified P5, and then Nico had the grid penalty, so ended up being P4. Um, it was a good recovery drive. And maybe no, I'll stick with a B. I mean, that incident was really, it was 100% his fault. He should have backed out of it, I think, a little bit and let Oscar have the apex there at that corner. But ultimately, he got the penalty that he deserved, and he had a good recovery drive. P6 still scored some good points. Um, you know, kept being his incredibly consistent self and just scoring points. If there is one thing that you can count on Max Verstappen for, is if he's crossing that finish line, it's in the points. There's no other way. Either he's scoring points or he's not finishing the race. There's no other option, because he hasn't not scored points in a race that he's finished in like 7 years or something crazy like
Since
that.
2016. So
Yeah.
we're going on 8 years on that record. So yes, incredibly consistent for Max Verstappen. The fans agree with me and give him a C. So that is it. That is all of our grades. We have completed it. Our top step drivers for the weekend. We gave out a lot of A pluses. I'm gonna go with Lando Norris. I think he had the best race of the season for himself. I think he had the best race of any of the other drivers this weekend. Pretty flawless, helped secure the Constructors' Championship. So I'm gonna go with Lando Norris as my top step driver of the weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. For the sake of being different, I'm gonna go with Carlos Sainz. It was a fantastic way for him to end his career at Ferrari. He did a fantastic job, and you know, it's really sad to see him go, but I know he'll do well, bringing Williams to the front of the grid. Hopefully, we'll see him contending for wins once again someday down the line, way in the future.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz was a close second for me, so I think that is a great choice. But that is it. That is another episode of Driver Report Cards done and dusted. Before we sign off from this series for 2024, Brandon, what are your parting podium thoughts?
Parting thoughts is thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Really grateful to be able to spend this time with you, Justin, and with everyone who is listening. So I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys, and we are very much so looking forward to next season and some awesome off-season content for you guys as well.
Absolutely. Thanks all around from us to you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Feel free to subscribe, like, leave a comment, do all of the things before you go. We appreciate it. It may be the off season, but don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We do have plenty of off-season content planned for you. And until next time, have a great week and God bless.
See you.